Hey, good morning. Today I'm going to do a little talk on Tantra. Tantra is, no, it's not Tantra, it's Tantra. Um, Tantra is, the word itself means technique or weaving. Weaving what? That I'll explain in a little bit. So Tantra consists of yantra, mantra, and tantra. Tantra is the technique. Mantra is the bija mantras, bijaksharas that you put together, and the technique will teach you how to use the mantra. And a yantra ends up being your own body. A yantra people think of like a Sri yantra, where you see it written, drawn in a circle and different triangles and different shapes. That is a yantra, but that is an external yantra that leads you to realize that the body is the physical version of the yantra. So you don't need an external yantra once you have the experience of that, of your body and the energy flowing through it. Then you're already set up to be the yantra yourself. A lot of people talk about Hatha Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga as Hatha Yoga, as how it's a tantric practice, or it's not a tantric practice. Hatha Yoga comes from tantric people called Nats, Nata. Nats. The Nats were, that's a whole nother video. I'm not going to go into that. The Nats were a faction of tantric teachings that embraced using the body to have an experience of God. Whereas if you're talking about the Vedic side of things or other mystical sides of things, they believe you would sit and go beyond the body to have an experience of God. Now, Tantra also teaches that we are in this body. We should not forget it. We need to take care of it. We eat, we drink water, we exercise, we do all the things that are needed to keep the body as performing as highly as possible. Highly as possible sounds stupid. To perform it as highest capacity possible. So this is the temple. And when you go to a temple in India or anywhere else, you're not going to abuse the temple itself. But you're really going to the temple to go inside to have an experience of the God that is housed in there. Now, that God is just one small form of God. God is Brahman. Brahman is the all-pervasive existence of the divine in everything. In me, in these plants, in the flowers, in the trees, in other people, in the animals, and everything. So, but typically in India, you have a small idea of what you like, and you get pulled toward that direction. So then you'll start worshiping Rama or Krishna or Kali or, Balaji, whoever you like. You'll start worshiping that form of God because that's the one that makes sense to your brain. It's also the one that makes your heart sing. So you're going inside the temple to pray or to sit and absorb and meditate and absorb the energy of the space. That's what we're doing with our bodies in Tantra. So we are taking care of the bodies in Tantra. We aren't letting it die. We're sleeping properly, eating properly, breathing properly, drinking liquids properly. But in Tantra, you'll find that there's, especially in the Agora side of things, you do it a little less. Because when you sleep a little less because more sleep creates sluggishness. You eat a little less because more food creates sluggishness. Same thing. When you drink a lot, when you drink alcohol a lot, when you drink anything a lot, you get heavy. And we're trying to stay light because we want to keep our vibration up here. So we're taking care of the body as the temple so that with our practices from yoga and from our guru, which is Tantra, which is the technique, we can use those techniques to take our awareness inside our temple, and stay in there until we have an experience of a oneness, or of a openness, or of an expansiveness, which can be called God. So there's not a separation of church and state, so to be, to say it a certain way. There's just who we are. And if you find yourself inclined to lean toward wanting to tap into that spirit that lives in this temple, then you'll seek out a guru, and you'll find someone who can teach you techniques of how to go inside yourself. Simple as that. Once you go inside and you have those experiences, you constantly crave to get back to that experience. But eventually, once you have practiced that to such a level that you're having experiences regularly, like daily or hourly, or, if you read about some of the saints in India, like Ramakrishna or something, they were going into samadhi at random times when all the conditions were met. So you're hoping that after so many experiences that you start to be in that state 60-70% of the time, so when you're close to it, you can have that. And then eventually what we're trying to do is, with yogic techniques, with tantric techniques, is to be able to be in that state, whether it be partially or fully, and still maintain the functioning of our normal self. So if I'm enlightened is an overused word that I don't like to use so much, because people have such highfalutin ideas about what it means. But I'll use it anyway. If you're enlightened and you can't function, if you've got a proper guru who will teach you techniques, you can always go back to those techniques even after you leave your guru, to keep yourself up there, connected, out there, connected, but also be able to pull your consciousness back to a focus inside yourself, so you can function well enough to help other people. Help other people could mean have a job. If you're in that state, it's hard to have a regular job, but it's possible. But also to help other people when they see something about you. Like when I started doing yoga, after a couple of years, people were constantly saying, "What are you doing that's different? You have this glow about you." And I was saying, I just am practicing yoga asanas. And at the time I was starting to learn pranayama, which makes the deep depth go, because pranayama really takes you inside your temple. So the goal is to have both. So when we're in a temple tour, when I'm in Mysore and I'm taking people on these temple tours, often in the temples there's a people tree, and the people tree is in the back of the temple, or it's where the original worship happened in that temple, and then they slowly built a structure around that tree, and then the tree got relegated to the backyard where the Navagrahas and the Nagas are and everything. So, but the tree embodies what we're trying to do. The tree is rooted down into this world, into the earth, into the dirt, the physical dirt, but also metaphorical dirt. Rooted down, but it's also reaching up for the heavens, but it's also reaching out for the heavens, to have experiences of everything. Because every branch can absorb water. The roots aren't the only thing that absorbs water. Every branch can absorb oxygen. The roots aren't the only thing that gets oxygen from the soil. So we as humans want to stay rooted and grounded in the temple of this body, in this world, so we can function while we're here in this body, for whatever reason we chose to do that as a spirit. And we're also reaching up, trying to see, have an experience of God, see some evidence that God exists, and we're reaching out to do the same thing through other people, through other experiences. So the branches are going out and up, and everything is trying to pull it all back to the center. Because in the winter, unless you're in a hot place like India, or in, like where I am now on this island, it's warm. In the winter, the tree sap all comes back to the center line of the tree, and then the leaves fall off. but the tree is still alive at its core. So we're always trying to maintain that aliveness from the crown chakra down, all the way down this inner spine to the Muladhara chakra. So I don't know if that makes a lot of sense to a lot of people. Let me know what you think. And that's a small version of what Tantra can be for you if you're looking for it. Okay? So thanks. Have a good day.